Okay, we've switched gears and we've got the NRX rod on a turning rack, and I just wanted to show you that we got the cork handle all nice and cleaned up on this rod, on this GLoomis NRX, and it took a mild cleaning, a little bit of a Scotch-Brite, a little bit of degreaser, a little bit of rubbing alcohol when it was done, and it cleaned up real well. I got the reel seat all cleaned up. You know, dug out the strawberry preserves and the peanut butter out of there and whatever was in there, and the rod cleaned up real nice. It looks new again. It was just something that was heavily used. I know the guy that owns this, he fishes a lot, he fishes well, so I know it's well used. And we're going to set up a shot to put the epoxy on this guide that we replaced, and the first guide back beyond the tip top. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up the Flexcoat, 50% resin, 50% hardener. I'm going to mix up about half a milliliter of each and measure it out in my handy dandy graduated scale syringes. And I'm not going to bore you with all the measuring and stirring this time, so I'll be back when it's all mixed up, ready to apply. Okay, I've got the epoxy all mixed up, and it still has a few little small bubbles floating around in there, but I'm not concerned about that because I'm gonna take those out with the micro torch when I warm it back up once I get the coating in place. Today I'm breaking in a new brush. I don't know, for some reason or another I like to go to the craft store and get nice synthetic poly bristle brushes. I just think that I have more control over where I put the epoxy instead of, you know, the brushes that are used quite a bit. You'll see in some of the videos the guys are using a standard throwaway brush, you know, with the heavier, thicker bristle. And I don't know if you can see this or not, but these bristles are, you know, many different lengths. They're not trimmed very nice. I guess I could trim them up a little bit, but you know, these are made to be used and thrown away. I'd rather use something over and over again and you know, to clean it up. So I've got a little tub of acetone that I clean up the brush with when I'm done, and try to, you know, just use it over and over again. I like the longer handle. You'll see this one here. Let me zoom out for you. You'll see this one here. It's got a, you know, longer handle brush. I just, you know, feel I can get a little bit better control. This isn't a fine art like making a painting or anything, but I do like to get the Flexcoat where I want it. So we're going to go ahead and apply this Flexcoat to this guide, and what you'll see is the thread will immediately start to darken up as it saturates with the Flexcoat. And what I like to do is get it all wet and get it saturated, and then go just off of onto the blank, off of the thread onto the blank a bit. And you don't have to, you know, it doesn't have to be a quarter of an inch or anything like that, but an eighth of an inch anyway. Try to get it as nice and even as possible. And the same thing with this side here, between the two wrappings, you know, make sure you come off and onto the blank. That way it gives a nice seal. You don't get any water, any crud up underneath there. And I like to try to pull it up right on top of that guide foot where the wishbone comes together right here. And when I put the heat to it, it's all going to saturate all up underneath the thread right there and in that split in that guide foot. And that'll give a real nice finish. This is the high build Flexcoat that I use. It's a little bit thicker. You can build it a little bit tall, a little bit higher. In some cases, you know, a lot of cases like the factory, they put maybe one coat on and call it done. Like I say, I'm not doing this for production. Doing it for a hobby. If I have to put 2 coats on to make it right, well, then tomorrow I'll put a second coat on. But I'll put this first coat on and let it turn, and see what it looks like tomorrow. And if it needs another coat, it'll get another coat tomorrow. So I'll just keep building this on here. I've seen some videos of guys using little metal spatulas to put this on with, and that's fine if that's what you're used to. That's all well and good. It seems like it could go a little bit faster with a spatula, but I'm in no hurry. I do wish my electric motor turned a little bit faster, or I had two settings on it, one for when I'm putting epoxy coating on there, and one that's just when it's drying, a slower setting for that, this speed. But well, this will do. Now that I've got the epoxy in place, I'm going to warm it up a little bit with the micro torch and make sure I get all the air bubbles out of it. And there'll be a drip and a sag hanging off of them, which is normal. If it's, I think it's a little excessive, I just touch it on the bottom and just pull that off of there and put it back in the cup. And there's nothing wrong with starting out with a little bit too much and pulling some back off. You know, some guys will just let it drip and whatever, and it just cracks me up. You know, they've got this expensive machine with the motor on it and everything, and they're letting it drip all in the tracks and everything. It's just, you know, there's really no need for that. It only takes a second to pull those little drips off of there and have a nice, neat, clean workbench. So that looks pretty good, and we're going to move on to the other guide and put the coating on that. Okay, I've got this set up now that you can watch how we flow the Flexcoat on the other guide that we put on, and basically it's the same principle. Get the thread wet, get it saturated, make sure it soaks in through the thread alongside that little, next to the guide foot, so it fills that cavity between the guide foot and the thread and the blank. And the only way that's going to happen is by saturating it and really by warming it up to make sure that the Flexcoat is nice and thin so it can penetrate in there, and that'll really anchor that guide foot down to the blank real nice, create a nice seal, and it's all good from there. Okay, I should have enough epoxy on there now, and we're going to warm it up and get the bubbles out of it, and we should be good. Pull a little excess drip off of there. And we can spread the epoxy along the south end of that wrapping. Make sure it's all nice and even so there's no bulges where they shouldn't be. And now we're going to let this turn for 8 hours or so till tomorrow morning and look to see if we need another coat. And if it's all good, I'm giving it back and John's going to go catch a big one.